Next question is, if elected as a congressman, how will you bring people together? Please share examples of what you have done to unite people and groups in your non-political life.
Thank you. Great question. Number one, my goal, if I can mention real quick, we all want Congress to work together for the better of our country. But unfortunately, they won't work together because they're too busy working for themselves. We know they all care about money and power and getting reelected, and I'm tired of it. And my goal there is to say we need to unite for the American people. My goal is not to serve the party and definitely not to serve the special interest, but to serve the people. And what Bill mentioned earlier is leadership. We need leaders with the convictions, but also the courage to stand up and lead. And my goal is to set the example and be a model across the country so people say, hey, that's the kind of leadership that we need. Someone who doesn't care about money or power, getting reelected, who's actually standing up for us. Okay, and one thing I'm going to do is term limits. Now, Bill said, no, the politicians who we have right now, they're not going to vote for it, but that's why you need to send somebody to Congress who will bring it to the table. Okay, I know it's not going to get passed right off the bat, but you know what it's going to do? It's going to draw the line in the sand. So the American people can see exactly how their representative voted. And then the people are going to stand up, vote out their career politician, and elect other statesmen like me. Because that's the only way that we can change it. Okay, but we the people, as I mentioned before, have to stand together. And that's my leadership, to unite we the people. Not the politicians, not the Republican Party, Democrat. No, we the people. We have to take the power back away from the corrupt politicians and put it back in the hands where it rightly belongs. And that's what I'm going to fight to do.
This business of compromise and, go along to get along is not going to get the job done that we need done now, believe me. The only thing he took, the middle of the road, rhino they call some of our so-called Republicans. The only thing I've ever seen in the middle of the road is yellow stripes and dead skunks. You've got to take a stand and stay with it. And again, I indicated earlier that my remarks about being a freshman state senator. And believe me, the heat is hot and heavy when they want you to vote a certain way and you don't want to do it. And I'm not interested in a political career, obviously. So you're going to have to dig your heels in, and it's not going to be pleasant, believe me, because I've been there. Now, I talk about leadership. You get somebody, I used to train paratroopers. That was a jump master. And you get up, 1,500, 1,600 feet at midnight, pitch black out here, and you get 40 men to jump out of that airplane. Believe me, that's leadership. So I've done it, and I'm willing to do it again, and you won't be disappointed if you send me as your representative. I'll guarantee you that to you. I'm a tough old guy, and I know what to do, when to do it, and when to sit down and be quiet.
Like Bill said, leadership, and I think the only way that we're ever going to not be so partisan is through leadership. And I like to follow the best example of leadership that we had was Jesus. He was a servant leader. As a matter of fact, he was the one who served his people. He did by example, and by serving his people, he was the leader. And each year I work at church camp. I dean a week of camp of 5th and 6th grade. And I know what it's like to have to be a leader because I have to get usually around 100 kids, and we have about 25 staff, and I got to get all the material stuff. So I know what it's like to be a leader, and the only way we can be a leader is we got to work together. We want to follow the example that Jesus gave us as a servant leader. So the best way to be a leader is to also know what everybody needs to. You need to be a servant as you're going along. If you can understand what the needs are of the people, then you can lead by example. And that's exactly how I would do. I would follow the best example that I have, that I've learned from the Bible, is through Jesus, and that's the way I would like to lead, the same way, through the same example, through servant leaderhood.
Well, again, I submit to you that if you're going to be a leader, people have to follow. And I got a little confused with some of the answers. The question, I believe, was, what are you going to do to bring people together, and how are you going to lead on Capitol Hill? Is that not what the question was?
How would you unite people and groups in your non-political life?
And give examples of how you've done that. Okay. First of all, my number one responsibility is to you, the constituent. I'm not really concerned about whether or not I'm labeled a partisan, or I think bipartisanship is overrated, especially if our number one priority is to you, which is how it should be. Having said that, if you're going to hire me to be your United States Congressman, then I'm assuming you're going to want me to accomplish things on Capitol Hill. And in order to do that, if you want me to truly lead, then I'm going to have to get people to follow. And there are things that we do need to accomplish on Capitol Hill. And so we need willing partners. So how do we find them? I will start in my own party. I do believe there are some other like-minded conservatives there right now that I've already spoken with that I really believe we can lock arms and work together. Hopefully there will be a few well-meaning Democrats, very few of those left these days, who will understand, and I believe after this election, when Democrats are sent home and we fire Barack Obama and hire a brand new president on January the 20th, 2013, hopefully they will see that in America we want less government, we want the power to be given back to the people, and hopefully they will follow our lead. But in order to lead, you have to have people who are willing to follow, and you have to be willing to build coalitions, and you do that by offering sound solutions and finding men and women on Capitol Hill who share your passion, who like your solutions, and who will unite with you to make a difference. In my private life, the greatest example I gave earlier was with the Wayne County Chamber of Commerce when we stopped the wheel tax.
Since all of you have been mentioning bipartisanship, you've kind of fallen into the next question here. And basically it puts us a little bit deeper, more specificity into the question of bipartisanship. Do you believe that bipartisanship, as some calling getting along by compromising in Congress, is necessary for our government to function at this time in our political life? Further, being that we are the Tea Party, and there is a Tea Party caucus, would you, as a priority, decide that it's necessary for you to join the Tea Party caucus?
I would join the Tea Party caucus. But I believe bipartisanship is overrated. Again, my first responsibility is to you, the constituent. Having said that, I think we forget that Ronald Reagan accomplished so much in the 8 years he was in the White House, while Tip O'Neill and the Democrats controlled the United States House of Representatives. And how did he accomplish that? He accomplished that by taking his message directly to the American people. And ladies and gentlemen, we bought it. We believed President Reagan when he told us taxes were too high and they needed to come down, and the United States needed to regain its standing in the world as the superpower that I believe the Almighty intended it to be, the shining city on the hill. So I'm not as concerned with being bipartisan as I am doing the job that you send me to do. And yet, if I can operate in a bipartisan manner, I absolutely am willing to do that. I'm not an establishment Republican. I've never held public office. It was the election of Barack Obama that kicked me off my couch 4 years ago, like with many of you. And therefore, I align myself with the Tea Party because I share its passion and I share its purpose. And so I would, with pleasure, join the Tea Party caucus in the United States House of Representatives.
I too will join the Tea Party. I believe it's a great caucus, and I think they represent getting back to the basics, and I think that's what we need to do. We need to get back to the Constitution. And as far as being bipartisan, right now I think we need to be as partisan as we can be, especially with the president who thinks he can do anything he wants. And if by a bad choice American people choose to put him back in office next term, we definitely need to be partisan because we need to stop him at all costs in anything he wants to do. So if I'm elected, definitely will be partisan if he's president. As far as being bipartisan, sometimes we have to be, but for the most part, I would try to get a feel for what the constituents would want me to do as far as the type of voting I would do. Because I think you're more important than like Don said, what we think. We're representing the people. We're not representing our party necessarily. We're not necessarily representing the Tea Party, even though I do support them very much. we are representing the people of our district. And that's the most important thing. So we'd have to see how the district would actually want us to do. So that's where I would stand. Partisan if we have to be, bipartisan if it works. So that's where I would be.
There are a couple of people in Congress that I've been in touch with. One of them, Paul Ryan, and again, I'm fully aware of what clout a freshman congressman has. Not much. So you team up with those people who have like ideas, and that's what I would certainly do. I've been a member of the Tea Party before there was a Tea Party. I mean, I understand pretty well what your platform is, and I subscribed to that when I was a state senator. Got in a little trouble for that because they didn't like those views that you folks had and I had. So yes, would I join the caucus? Absolutely. I've always been a Tea Party person before there was an organized Tea Party. Now, compromise. Let's go down the list real quick. I will compromise with people if they want to repeal the Obamacare. Establish a better business climate. Reform the federal tax code. Secure our borders and build a fence. Reform Social Security. Protect all those people 55 and older. Don't change it for them. Reform the rest. Smaller government. National right to life, and I want to see an amendment to the Constitution to protect life and a strong national defense. Those are the areas that I will compromise on if people want me to compromise, have those same views. Period.
Yes, we definitely need bipartisanship, but the bipartisanship is to uphold the Constitution. Okay, that's it. That should be the focus of every member of Congress. I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, Libertarian. This is our number one focus. But my biggest frustration is how come every time we compromise, it's always us doing the compromising? It's always the conservatives. Okay, my vision of compromise is, hey, let's all work together, let's balance this budget, and let's come up with a plan to pay off our debt. That's what everybody else has to do when you're in debt personally, right? You got to cut your expenses, and you got to come up with a plan to pay off your debt. But unfortunately, the politicians on both sides, they're not even coming up with a plan to cut the spending, let alone coming up with a plan to pay off our debt. Now, you asked me a question about the Tea Party. Yes, I would align myself with the Tea Party if they stayed true to the Constitution and was conservative. Now, unfortunately, with the Tea Party and Republican Party, they just put together a budget that was $3.6 trillion. $3.6 trillion. Now, we only generate $2.3 trillion. So you know what that did? That just gave us a $1.5 trillion deficit. Is that conservative? Is that a victory? No. My goal is to go there to tell Washington no more debt.